boys. I hope you're well, and you're not missing school too much, and that you're really trying to keep up with the work that's being set in all of your subjects. I'm missing you, missing being in school, and hopefully it won't be too long before we're back in school in some way. Now, I was due to put up the next booklet, the booklet for socialism this week, but I've decided to slow down a little bit, partly to give a few of you time to catch up, because I know some of you are struggling with the workload, but also I want us to revisit the planning for the essays and make sure that we're all clear on how these ideologies essays should be structured. So you'll see on the screen, I am posing you this essay question. To what extent do modern liberals and classical liberals agree over freedom in society? And like all of the ideologies essays, this is 24 marks. And it says very clearly underneath, you must use appropriate thinkers that you have studied to support your answers and consider both sides in a balanced way. Now, in the 30-mark essays we've already been doing for paper one, we are getting to grips with considering both sides in a balanced way. And we're going to do that again. But we have not before been asked to include appropriate thinkers. But you'll know in your study of liberalism and conservatism so far that there are key individual thinkers that you have to know about. You have to know what their theories were and how they contributed to the development of the ideology. And in these ideology essays, the 24 markers, you have to mention in detail at least two. And if you don't, you are capped. So you get capped at about 50% of the marks, something like that, unless you use at least two thinkers. And really, it should be easy to use more than that. So that's always worth thinking. Think back to the example essays that you've already done, the practice questions we've done over the last couple of weeks. Did you appropriately describe the views of key thinkers? Maybe you need to go back and make sure that you have done that. Okay, now just with all standard essays, you need to start with an argument. So you need to start with a brief introduction that outlines your argument. Then you're going to go through key ideas. I will talk to you about the ideas that I have selected in a moment, and then you will have a conclusion. Pretty straightforward so far. This, boys, is not written as an essay. I have written down bullet points because I didn't want to just talk you through a fully written, succinct essay for you to copy. I want to talk to you about the planning and the structure and the ideas so that you can go away and really spend some time on this and think about it. So let's revisit the question again before we start. To what extent do modern liberals and classical liberals agree over freedom in society? So you'll know that in ideologies, we compare always four things: the state, the economy, society, and human nature. And this question is just slightly different because it talks about freedom in society. Because that's really what liberals are concentrating on. When they think about the role of society, they're considering the extent to which society enables individuals to be free. Because individualism is absolutely paramount in liberalism. Okay, so first of all, we need to start with our argument. Now, boys, as you're planning and typing up essays, it might be a good idea for you to write the bulk of your essays first and then come back to your introduction and your conclusion afterwards, tweaking your paragraphs at the end. For me, obviously, I have an idea of this straight away, and hopefully by completing your booklets and doing your practice questions already, you have an idea of what your argument's going to be for this essay. For me, I believe that modern and classical liberals are divided in their support for freedom in society. And so that's what I'm going to start with. You'll see that I've just written two sentences here at the beginning, and that's the sort of length that I would suggest you to write in your introduction. Just 2 or 3 sentences that outline your argument, where you're going to go, leaving enough for you to come back to at the end as your conclusion. So your conclusion isn't just a mere summary of your introduction. So, modern classical liberals are divided over their support for freedom in society. Classical liberals have a fundamentally different view to modern liberals. That's my argument. So it says to what extent, and I'm saying they are fundamentally different. I'm not saying they slightly disagree. I'm not saying that it's marginal. I'm saying they fundamentally have different views over the role of freedom in society, the role of society in maintaining freedom. Classical liberals believe that individuals should be free to pursue their self-interest. However, modern liberals believe that individuals are more than just pleasure-seeking humans and that they need support from society to help develop their potential. So you can see, boys, in just 2 sentences, I've outlined my argument. I've said that I think they are fundamentally different. And I've given just 1 sentence very briefly describing how. Because the bulk of my essay is going to be delving into these areas. Now, I've decided to split my essay into 3 chunks. I'm going to talk about individualism, because that is fundamental to liberalism, and classical and modern liberals have different views on it. Then I'm going to talk about equality, and again, how classical and modern views have different views on equality and how equality, how significant it is and how it can be established. And then also on capitalism, because freedom in society has to surely also be about freedom of the economy. So I'm going to talk about capitalism, and then I'm going to go to my conclusion. Okay, so within each of these paragraphs, boys, just like we did previously in our 30-mark essays, I need to clearly show both sides of the argument. An argument, a counter-argument, evidence, argument, counter-argument, evidence. And part of my evidence, because this is an ideologies essay, is always going to be key thinkers. And I've just highlighted those in bold for you to see that in every paragraph I'm mentioning some key thinkers. Okay, so here's the bulk of what I'm going to say. Remember, boys, these are bullet points. This is not written as an essay. That's the bit that you're going to do. You're going to turn this into sophisticated writing. But these are the critical points. Both classical liberals and modern liberals agree that the individual is more important than society. So unlike socialism, where the society is the most important thing, liberalism believes the individual is the most important. Individuals are rational and can be left to make their own decisions. And therefore, classical liberals believe that society should tolerate what people do. However, modern liberals disagree about how much society should support people to be free. So classical liberals believe that society should not get involved and they should allow people to be free and tolerate them to do pretty much whatever they want to do. Then we're going to come on to negative freedom in a minute. But modern liberals have a slightly different view about the extent to which society should get involved in supporting and enabling people to be free. So classical liberals believe that individuals are egotistical, that they are self-centered and self-interested, and that society should not interfere in allowing them to do whatever they want to do. John Stuart Mill advocates the harm principle. So he says that actually there are self-regarding actions and other regarding actions. Self-regarding actions are those actions that you undertake that only affect you. So the things that you do that only affect the person conducting them. These are self-regarding actions. and that society should totally leave people alone to have, these should be unregulated. You should be totally left alone to undertake these self-regarding actions. Anything that's just affecting you, you should be free to do it. Whereas other regarding actions, so those actions that might affect others negatively, like murder, for example, are fine for society to have an opinion about and to intervene. So freedoms, so the society should be there to protect your freedom to do what you want unless it is harming others. So classical liberals believe in maximum freedom unless you are doing harm to others. However, modern liberals have a different view. They have greater emphasis on developmental individualism. T.H. Green, for example, says that individuals are not just pleasure seeking animals, but in fact, we want to better ourselves. Education, therefore, helps individuals realize their potential, and the society can create these enabling conditions. Education and healthcare, things like that, for example, that society should be there to enable us to reach our potential. Education is particularly important here because T.H. Green believes that we can learn from one another and we can develop over time. We can learn from those that have come before us and the way in which they've developed their individualism, and we can take that on and better ourselves. And society should be there to help, to provide that education, to enable us to reach our potential. Classical liberals disagree. They believe that only the individual themselves can create these enabling conditions. This is not the role of the state. The state should not be interfering. Society should not be interfering. Only the individual should be able to enable their own development. We shouldn't be relying on crutches from society to help us get there. Okay, boys, so it's really important to remember to stay focused on the question. Everything I've put in, everything I've talked about so far is directly linked to the question. And you'll see I'm constantly comparing classical to modern liberals because that's what the question is asking me to do. And I'm doing it in a balanced way. Okay, my next paragraph is going to be about equality. And again, I'm starting with an agreement between classical and modern liberals. Both agree in some form of equality in society, which helps to foster freedom. Ultimately, the important things here are equality of opportunity and meritocracy, and they're important. Okay, meritocracy is being rewarded for your merit, being rewarded for what you do, and liberalism believes in that. Okay, liberalism believes that individuals should be rewarded for their input, for sure, both classicals and modern. Mary Wollstonecraft, who's a feminist liberal, believed that all should have access to opportunity, including women. She specifically talked about giving women access to opportunity. And she was talking about political opportunity at first. So she was talking about women having the right to vote. She was talking about women being recognised, being listened to, being equals in society. And she's a classic, she's a liberal thinker and somebody that we should mention. So classical liberals believe that individuals are atomistic. Think about individual atoms in society. They're all individuals playing a role. And that's what classical liberals believe, that the individuals are more significant than the common. Okay, that there is no common good because individuals are basically only interested in themselves. John Locke says that individuals only agree to societal contracts. So we're talking about law and order, for example. John Locke says that individuals only agree to societal contracts so that they cannot harm one another. So liberals would agree in the principles that murder is wrong and that we require law and order, judges and police to ensure that those who murder that murderers go to prison. But John Locke's saying we only agree to that principle in order to protect ourselves, not because we really care about the common good. He talks about the fact that we have natural God-given rights and that society cannot take these away. All society should be doing is protecting our rights. And particularly, he talks about protecting property rights. So we shouldn't be stealing from one another. And that's a societal contract. There's law and order in place to ensure that we don't continually steal from one another, because our rights to own property and to be wealthy and to enjoy that should be protected. This is what is known as negative freedom. Classical liberals believe in negative freedom. So we should be totally allowed to do what we want to do until what we're doing harms others. Society should only be there to protect, not to interfere. But modern liberals believe that this is different, that actually there are inequalities in society that society should try and balance out. Nowhere near as far as socialism, but that there needs to be some interference, if you like, from society in order to help everybody have equality of opportunity. So modern liberals believe that the higher paid people in society should pay a higher tax, for example. So at the moment, there are different tax rates depending on how much money you earn, and you go into a higher bracket. So a larger percentage of your wage is contributed to tax depending on how much you are paid. And this money is there to contribute to society, basically to fund the welfare state, the NHS, education, etc. And those modern liberals believe that those who are fortunate enough need to sacrifice some of their freedom, so freedom to just get endlessly rich, in order to support those who are not as fortunate as them, to ensure that the disadvantaged in society can enjoy real opportunity. Equality of opportunity, real opportunity. So, for example, the rich need to pay more in taxes to enable us to be able to afford free education for all. Because once individuals become educated, and if they're kept healthy enough by the NHS, for example, then they can compete in the working world. So it's creating a platform, if you like. Modern liberals believe that society should create a platform where everybody has access to these equal opportunities. It shouldn't be the case that you're only educated because you can afford it. It shouldn't be the case that you're only healthy because you can afford it. John Rawls, who's a modern liberal, advocates a society that any individual would be happy to enter at any level. So he says, close your eyes and imagine entering a society at any level. What would need to exist in that society for you to be happy to enter it at wealthy, mid-wealth, or poor, for example? And he says that in this conditions, when asked that question, everybody says that there are certain services that society needs to provide to help everybody. And so in this way, we need services in society that help people to become more free. And they're the services I've talked about. This is in the UK, we're talking obviously about the NHS, we're talking about free education. And modern liberals believe that the state should help individuals to be equal, giving them that platform to access opportunity. Classic liberals totally disagree with this, saying that it is up to the individual themselves to do this without state intervention. So it shouldn't be for the state to enable individuals to succeed. That's really only determined by the individual. Okay, so you can see again, boys, I've mentioned several thinkers in that paragraph, and I'm constantly comparing classical to modern liberals. Okay, my last point I want to talk about in this essay is capitalism. Again, I'm starting with both. Okay, something that both classical and modern liberals agree on. Both believe in capitalist society, and they believe that it creates more freedom. Okay, so capitalist society, that people earn money and they can keep their money, they can own private property, that it's a free market, that some people obviously become rich and some people stay pretty poor. So even though they disagree on the extent to which the state should enable equality and freedom, they agree that economic inequality, is inevitable. So yes, we should be ensuring that everybody is healthy and everybody is educated and everybody is politically free. So they have freedom of speech and freedom to vote, for example. But actually, once those conditions are established, individuals are free to rise and fall in the system, to get really, really rich or not. And this is where Rawls and Wollstonecraft agree. Wollstonecraft said that, we should be supporting women, for example, to become politically equal with men. But once they are given the tools to compete in the free market, it's up to them. Whether they rise or fall, whether they become rich or not, is up to them. And Rawls and Wollstonecraft agree on this despite writing 200 years apart. But what they disagree on is the regulation of the market economy. Okay, so yes, both believe capitalism is important, it's essential to freedom, in fact, but they disagree on how far it should be regulated. Okay, so classical liberals advocate a laissez-faire approach to the economy. They believe that the individual hand, the invisible hand, the invisible hand of the market is important. Okay, that let me just correct that. The invisible hand of the market and private ownership generates more wealth for society as a whole. That people can accrue lots of property, you can own loads and loads of property, and then you can sell it on. And actually, by doing this, by creating this free market where things rise and fall in price, you are helping the country with its wealth. Yeah. And they believe that too much tax punishes the hard work of individuals and therefore limits their freedom. The freedom to generate the wealth, so to become super wealthy and then to enjoy that wealth. Okay, so classical liberals want a laissez faire approach, kind of hands off approach. They want the society to take a step back and just let people get filthy rich if they want, and that we shouldn't be punishing the wealthy in society with higher tax. Modern liberals, however, believe that market failure can punish individuals through no fault of their own. That everybody plays a role in capitalism. Everybody is important. The workers are important. The factory owners are important, etc. And so you shouldn't be punishing some when markets crash. They advocate Keynesianism economics because it emphasizes the importance of maintaining employment levels. And that's what John Maynard Keynes really believed in. He said that society should be helping the majority of individuals be consistently employed because that will help the economy. You've got more people working, you've got more people with more money to feed into the economy, and it ensures that the economy keeps going. And so modern liberals agree with this. They believe that individuals should be free, and they are free as long as they have a job and are receiving an income. And so the society, government should be supporting everybody to do that. Classical liberals, however, believe that only the individual should be rewarded for their hard work. So the owner, the property owner, the haves in society are the ones who should be rewarded. So, for example, the factory owner should benefit the most from the fact that his factory is done really, really well. The wealth shouldn't be distributed to the workers as they are far, far less significant. That's what classical liberals believe, that there shouldn't be a regulation for minimum wage and wealth distribution, and there shouldn't be higher taxes for higher earners, because that owner that have should be able to be rewarded for his personal individual effort. Modern liberals disagree, as they believe that the proceeds of wealth should be fairly shared out, not equally shared out, as in communism, but fairly shared out with all those that contributed. Basically, modern liberals are saying that the workers are incredibly important in making that factory work. Where would the factory be without the workers? So they should be rewarded, not equally, but they should be fairly rewarded. So you've still got capitalism, a capitalist society where people, lots of people get richer than others, and people maintain a status of being relatively poor in society. That's natural. They believe in that natural inequality, but that gap shouldn't just carry on increasing. There should be some distribution of wealth, but not equal distribution. Okay, so we can see there that's a complicated idea, but hopefully that's helped you understand the difference of belief in society, interference, interaction with capitalism. So, boys, we've covered, just to recap, we have a brief introduction that outlines my argument that they are fundamentally different. That was my argument. To remember, I'm asked to what extent, and I've decided a large extent. Fundamentally different would suggest a large extent. And then I have broken my essay down. I'm talking about individualism. I've compared classical liberals with modern liberals and their view on individualism, and included some thinkers. Then I have explained the differences they believe in equality and achieving equality of opportunity. And again, I've talked about key individuals there and what they think, how they've contributed to the idea. And then I've talked about capitalism. And again, really comparing what classical and modern liberals think about state intervention in capitalism, state regulation of the economy. Okay, now I need a conclusion. You'll see it's slightly longer than the introduction, but not that much, because it's pretty clear what my argument is throughout. It's been pretty clear. My argument is they disagree. There are things in each, in individualism, in equality, and in capitalism, are things that make that show liberals agree, but there are fundamental differences in the way that liberalism has evolved. Classical liberals think one thing, modern liberals think another. And so my conclusion, again, this is not a finished conclusion, but it's kind of tying together my ideas. It is clear that classical and modern liberals are divided on these issues. Classical liberals believe that society should step back and only intervene to ensure negative freedom is protected, whereas modern liberals, though, believe in positive freedom. They believe in the creation of a society that is less unequal in terms of service provision. So modern liberals believe that that society should be providing the services which enable individuals to ensure greater freedom. So again, we're talking about education and healthcare and things like that. And that once they have reached that level of freedom, they can then choose their own destiny. So you're giving a platform to people to access the opportunities. And once everybody can access those opportunities, off you go. Be as successful as you like or not, as the case may be. Classical liberals disagree, as they believe that the individuals themselves should be free to accumulate wealth in a market-driven capitalist society. There should be no distribution, there should be no capping. They should be totally free in an egotistical way to get whatever they want, accumulate their wealth and enjoy it. Modern liberals fear that capitalism can impinge on freedom by creating too many losers. And therefore, they believe in just enough societal regulation to protect the individual and create equality of opportunity. Not equality, but equality of opportunity. So everybody has the opportunity to be successful. Okay, boys, I hope that you have found that useful. And that you can play back this video, stop it, pause it, rewind, go back to things, really focus on the areas that you find most tricky to get your head around, and think again and again about the structure of these 24 mark essays, that it's a constant balance of arguments, and that you are always bringing in key thinkers. John Stuart Mill just here, as we can see. Okay, so I hope you found that useful, and that it just gave you a sense of being taught by me again, although obviously nowhere near as fun as being in room 67 and enjoying some old politics fun. I'll post a few more of these, boys, over the coming weeks to help us, but your mission this week is to write this essay as well as you can. Everybody's aiming for 24 marks, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to achieve that with the help that I have provided you today. So we're slowing down slightly because I don't want you to fall behind, and I want to make sure that you've really grasped it. So you've got this 24 mark liberal essay to do now, and I will also post later in the week another one of these screencastifiers going through a conservatism essay that I also want you to write this week. So please spend the next couple of days, it's Tuesday morning now, please spend the next couple of days writing this essay so that it is done, and then there'll be another one for you. And if you still haven't submitted the work that's already been posted, you need to get onto that ASAP. Email me if you struggle at all, boys. Missing your faces. Hope you're well. Take care.